Meanwhile, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman is leaning toward backing Donald Trump in the presidential election. Ackman had endorsed Nikki Haley during the primaries and previously has donated to Democrats. This news follows the recent announcement by another Wall Street billionaire, Steven Schwartzman, that he would support Trump as a, quote, vote for change. Let's bring in co-anchor of CNBC's Squawk Box, Andrew Ross Sorkin. He also is a columnist for the New York Times and NBC News senior business analyst and host of the 11th Hour, Stephanie Ruhle. Good morning to you both. Steph, I know you've been working the phones all night after this verdict came down, talking to some of your sources on Wall Street. So what is the calculus for somebody like Bill Ackman? Is it as plain as it sounds, which is lower corporate taxes, less regulation, and the like?
Listen, I'm not going to speak to Bill specifically, but remember, it was a year and a half ago. All sorts of big GOP donors, Wall Street guys, were like, you know what, we're done with Trump. It's time for a Ron DeSantis or a Nikki Haley. And they thought he had too much baggage. They weren't happy with January 6th. But lo and behold, Nikki's not an option. Ron's not an option. And they are remembering Donald Trump is a transactional guy, and so are they. They know that if you side with Trump when he's down, which he clearly is now, doesn't really cost you anything. And come 6 months from now, when and if he's the next president, that's an extraordinary get out of jail free card for them, right? Look what Donald Trump did just 2 weeks ago. He had that meeting with oil execs, and he basically said, you guys give me $1 billion, you can get whatever you want. We're not talking about your average Wall Street investor. We're talking about the biggest of the big guys. And whether it's the FTC or the SEC, they know they've always got a regulator on their tail. And to have somebody in the White House, yes, it's corporate taxes. Yes, it's deregulation. But more than that, it's to be able to control the rules. That's a huge win. And Trump will give that to them.
Yeah, and Andrew, we should point out that just a couple of hours after those 34 guilty verdicts came down in New York, Donald Trump went into a fundraiser right there in New York to begin to raise money on this. So from the sources you talk to, and you're so dialed in on Wall Street, you know, the Dow's over 40,000. It was. We've talked about this quite a bit, the strength of the economy, save for inflation. So what is it that these billionaires think that by sidling up to Donald Trump, they can extract from him? What do they get out of him?
Well, so some of this is about power, proximity to power. That's a huge part of this. Some of this is about what's going to happen in 2025 when the Trump tax cuts expire and what comes next. So there's the financial component. And then when you look at somebody like Bill Ackman, actually, he's somebody who was, and I think he's the most surprising switch so far, because he was a long time, a very vocal a very vocal Democrat who had backed Democrats financially before. But he's somebody who I think, on the whole, has taken the position that he's unhappy with what's going on around DEI issues in America, what's happening on university campuses, what's happening in Israel, and the way that the Biden administration's reacted, and frankly, with the age of Biden. I had thought, I've talked about on this broadcast before, that he had a different view. I didn't know if he would go with Trump. I actually thought that he was still holding out some kind of hope that there was a, third unicorn that was going to emerge to take Biden's spot. But it appears that he is, in fact, going towards Trump. At one point, though, about the market today in terms of reacting, the market's not really reacting, but we should focus on what's called Predicted. This is a website where people actually can bet. They can bet on who's going to win. And for a brief moment, Trump, who had been up, because it follows the polls, went down yesterday. But he's now winning again. And I just say that not because it's going to happen that way, but because I think people need to recognize and focus on the fact that those numbers are suggestive, at least, of something in this moment, as surprising and shocking as that may be.
Hold on, Willie, I know we're out of time, but can I say two things? Bill Ackman was looking for a third unicorn. Let's remember, there was a moment when he was hot on Vivek Ramaswamy. There was a moment when he was hot on RFK. He's hot on power. And when you go back to Bill Ackman and his take on the college protests, I would remind you of this. It was Bill Ackman who said all of those college students should have their names and their faces and their identities public, because I do not want to hire any one of them at my company one day. Yeah. So the question to ask Bill Ackman today is, well, would you hire somebody who is convicted of 34 felonies?
Yeah, would you hire someone who acts like Trump? I don't know. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, thank you. And Stephanie Ruhle, who said she would not speak to Bill Ackman personally.
No, I didn't say I wouldn't speak to him personally. No. I said I didn't speak to him personally. I didn't say I wouldn't. I didn't. I said I didn't. I absolutely would speak to him personally.
Personally about his DEI fight. He's the face of fighting DEI. I wouldn't speak to him.
All right.